So that's all I'm going to show today. And you see, so you can see that this is the funny thing about HTML5. This thing worked fine on my Mac 5 when I created it, but now when I'm running it here, you just can't figure out. But anyway, they're supposed to be funny codes. Mark Anderson said that Netscape will soon reduce Windows to a poorly debugged set of devices. And he said that in probably 96, and then by 98, Netscape was bought by Earl and probably shutting active Netscape development. But really the point is that what he said in 96 is probably it rings a bell now as well. That you don't really have to use the app platform. We use iOS or the native Android development. You can get a lot of it, and this is a trend that has been going on for the last 12-15 years, that things graduate from the OS layer to the platform layer and to a common layer where everyone is able to use those features very well. So that's pretty much still going to happen. And the second quote is from Jamie Zawinski, who was one of the original developers of Netscape Vetran as well. He said that every program keeps on adding features and becoming complex till it can read mails. And if it can't, then it gets replaced by one. And so, but probably Gmail changed it that because now anyone can do mails on the browsers. Quiz question. Would you know how many hits, or can anyone guess how many hits per day Google gets from Netscape Navigator? I'm sure probably none of you have Netscape Navigator or know someone who has Netscape Navigator, but how many hits do we get per day
around 1 million.
in Google?
Couple of
Around
million.
1 million. 10,000.
Yeah, in thousands.
Maybe a few hundreds or
5,000.
Okay, a related question. Anyone of you have heard of Links?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
an online browser? Okay. So I don't feel that old now. So anyone can guess how many hits Links has on Google.com every day?
Links must be having a lot of hits, I guess.
Lot more than Netscape.
Yeah.
So here's the surprise. Probably in the second line, I pulled out these stats from yesterday, and Netscape Navigator does 1.7 billion, and Links does 1.2 billion. But still, these are millions. These are not tens and hundreds and thousands. The point is that we only talk of fragmentation on mobile. It even exists on desktops if you care about these millions of nodes. The other thing I just wanted to highlight was that our Prime postal department site. If you go to the postal department site on a non-IE browser, this is where it sends you, and you can see where are the roots of that coming from. It goes to nsdefault.htm, and NS obviously stands for Netscape, and so it also tells you when was the last time they had updated their site. Probably 5-8 years ago. Purely from as a standards point of view, HTML is probably one of the most forward-looking standards. And there was one key decision that they took while defining the HTML 1.0 standard, which probably answers one of the questions raised here, whether if you are using HTML5, would it safely degrade on the older browser? So the answer to that is yes. So HTML5, one of the core principles is that it still stands to that decision. And that particular decision that I'm talking about was that ignore the tags that you don't understand. So this was taken in HTML 1.0, and every successive standard still conforms to it. So if you are writing for HTML5 and those 1.7 Netscape Navigator users are trying to go to it, they'll at least see the text, they will see your index, they will see your body or whatever. It's not that the page won't show.
Can you give some idea of the geography from where this 1.7 billion is coming? Or is it widespread around the world?
This is pretty much widespread. It's just that these would be probably for, that when interesting piece is that when AOL bought Netscape in '98, for the next 4 or 5 years, Netscape.com was still the most visited site in the world. And the reason was that on all the Netscape browsers, Netscape.com was the default homepage, and there are these folks who never changed it. And so I would believe they're mostly from Europe and US.
Or maybe from most of the universities.
Yeah, links is used more as a spider also nowadays to crawl content and stuff. But yeah, there are people who want to quickly grab something. They either use wget or links. So links is not that actively used. Because of that, this key decision in HTML 1.0, we are seeing that there are companies who are always trying to run ahead of these standards. So you will see the same principle in HTML5, but I'm just trying to refer to here that when 1.0 came on, then Netscape and Spry and Mosaic and I don't know who were all there at that time. They were just trying to add in new features every 6 to 8 months, and then someone in the standard would see that because they have 60% browser share, so everyone uses those features, so just add them to the standard. So this happened to tables, frames. This happened to JavaScript. JavaScript tag itself. And this also happened to the Blink tag, which is not such an innovative thing. Again, the theme is that a key technology and a standard becomes available, and then everybody tries to use it, and then in order to give differentiation, they innovate. And then when you innovate, you add features to it, and then those features are only useful if everybody else is using to it, because then we have entrepreneurs and developers who actually use those features. So this has been happening, in at least the initial days of HTML standard, as well as the Netscape browser, 2.0, 3.0. And so once someone came up with the hypertext protocol and Tim Bernstein and HTML, and then you could see the web pages. So the next thing you think was that, I want to track whether this user comes back to me. So someone in Netscape wrote the cookie standard. And so there are things that happen within 3 days, the repercussions of which are available for next 20 years. So cookies is probably one of them, and so on, server-side session. So when you can track them, then you want to get information from them. So the form standard were invented. When users started filling forms, then they started making mistakes. So you need to check them. So how do you check them? Probably some basic JavaScript alerts. Don't put in digits and stuff like that. So that's how it all started. The same time, one of the key things to add value is to allow other developers to contribute to your platform. So Netscape plugins, 2.0 plugins were such a hotshot idea back in '96 that you were actually code in C and C++, and you could write plugins. So in 1998 we had a Macromedia Flash plugin, and we had a Real Player plugin, and so on. So you can see that even the act of extending the platform has made great strides. So earlier you had to write plugins and then just use the 6 functions of the API that Netscape chose to expose, and then that's it. And everything else you have to do on your own. And this has come to the way where you have Safari extensions, you have Chrome extensions, where you really don't have to learn anything new.